What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Eric Hempler. How you doing today, Eric?
Good.
Excellent, excellent. And I didn't butcher your last name, did I?
No.
Nope. Excellent, excellent. So that's the other reason why I'm very happy today. The other reason why I'm so happy is because you, my very favorite audience member, you're here today. And why are you here? It's because it's a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators, operators, buyers, sellers, all that sort of stuff. And why do I do that? Well, it's because there's a law saying that if you want to share private deals with other syndicators, you need a prior substantive relationship. And that means you have to know what is it that you know how to do? What is it that you're looking to contribute? Like, do you actually know how all this stuff works? But before we get too excited with that, Eric, do you want to give a real short introduction before we get going?
Sure. My background's been in mostly real estate accounting,
Mhm.
and I've done some property management and I've appraised apartments as well. And I just kind of looking to get my foot in the door, get a few apartment buildings and kind of go from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's go to the motivations then. And before we do that, though, I always say, but wait, check your eight. And Eric, I don't know if you have the uncanny ability to look through your camera and into the audience's device and under there and see if they have the big ugly red button that says subscribe, or if they have the gray one, which means they've already subscribed. But it'd be really good if they. Now, okay, that's just a joke. All right, so let's go on to the motivations. I found that some people, if they're new to this, maybe they're just into commercial real estate because they heard that there's a bunch of money in it. But I need to know why exactly you are going to go through with it, because these acquisitions can take months and all sorts of things can go wrong. So I need to know why you're doing this. So my first motivation that I found, some people, they've already got a portfolio big enough that the profits from owning that portfolio is how they make their ends meet. And if inflation rears its ugly head, sometimes they're going to have to make a new acquisition, or maybe there's an asset crash that happens, and that's why they're looking to return to the value of commercial real estate, and that's why they're making their next acquisition. That's not what I'm up to. What I'm up to is I'm trading my time directly for deployed capital, aka wealth. And what that's all about, see, I've had a CRM agency since 2011, and because of being in tech and all that kind of stuff, that means high wage and high salary, which means it's also higher taxes than anybody else. So it hit me that I should probably pivot and use my skills to something where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital. And that's what I'm up to. But many people are attracted to commercial real estate because they want to take control of their schedule. Maybe that means they want to fast track retirement, or maybe it just means that they want to work fewer months per year, or fewer weeks per month, or fewer hours per week. But these people here, they definitely want to, scale back a little bit at some point, and that's their priority. Whereas the next two, that is definitely not their priority. Like the super ambitious people who want to buy their entire hometown, the people who are after that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. That's what these guys are up to, and they're fantastic because they're going to hustle into their 90s. Just like this last group of people, I like to joke that they want to save the world, but really what I'm talking about is anybody who's found a sector of society or the environment or animals or whatever it is, and they want to make a big impact. Well, they're going to have a substantial financial backing, and so that's why some commercial investors make these acquisitions. So of those 5 different motivations, Eric, what combination of those stood out and describes you best?
I suppose it's just more of I kind of know what expenses are coming up in the household, and
Mm-hmm.
having additional income is more what I'm thinking more than anything.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Good stuff. And then my next question has to do with the tolerance for risk, and the reason for that is because, as I said, some people, they heard that oh, there's money in commercial real estate, so they hop into this. But you really need to make sure that you know that there is risk involved, and it is somewhat complicated. So my question for that is: there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you, Eric?
I think just office space right now, just because we don't know how many people are going to be working from home versus in the office over the next few years.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about commercial deals specifically. And in every episode of Chance Encounters like this, I go through all six sides of the Dan Does Deals Commercial Competency Cube. You can get your copy at dandoesdeals.com, and it's totally free. And I don't even ask for your email address. And that's the worst thing you can do from a marketing perspective. But I want to make sure that you can print this out for free. You can practice using it with your friends and family, because I want to make sure that you can effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. And I go through all six sides because I want to make sure you can also see how my guest fits into these deals. So the first side of the competency cube is the repositioner side. Repositioners look at a bunch of different properties because they're acquisitions people. They do a bunch of paperwork. What are they doing with that paperwork? Well, there's a fancy word for it. They underwrite the deal. That means they do the arithmetic, they do the math. First of all, they have to find out, well, is this building even making the amount of money that the broker or seller claims it is? And then the other thing, the reason why they're called repositioners is because they're thinking of how can they change this property to get upside. Now, one tool in the repositioners tool belt to make the business more profitable, aka find more upside, is without making any changes other than the loan, they can go to financiers being people who only deal with paper and money, and get more advantageous lending. Okay, but let's assume that that's not available because that's not really something that everybody gets access to. So the repositioner's first place to look as far as upside will be operations. They want to stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. And on top of that, though, there's more to operations. There's a lot to operations. Like one of them is, like just even beyond mowing lawns and collecting rent and unclogging toilets, there's also a marketing component, which is one of my fortes. And that's to make sure that the vacancy rate stays low. And then there's also all sorts of automations and whatnot that can happen to make operations more efficient. But one of the problems with operations is because commercial real estate is so competitive, that's oftentimes it's not going to be enough. So the repositioner will get a contractor team to fix up the units, and then that way the next tenants will be happy to pay more in rent than the previous ones. But the problem with contractors in general and making these renovations is it's hugely expensive. It's very easy to make improvements that won't actually ROI. But the bigger problem I find that repositioners may have, especially if they're like me, see, I'm from the internet. And so that means if there's a problem, we need somebody who can be there in an hour or two. So we need the local. We need somebody who can be there when something goes wrong, and they won't be like me and stuck at an airport if I still, if I left like an hour ago or something like that. But out of this ownership team, when the repositioner has that all together and a property in mind, they turn around to the financier and say, hey, this property is worth, say, tens of millions of dollars. You don't happen to have tens of millions of dollars you want to lend me, do you, financier? And the financier is going to have one more question in their mind that I haven't mentioned, and that is, who's the sponsor KP? Okay, so if you and your pals want to take over like a 350 unit apartment complex, something like that, if you want to get a commercial loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset, even if your name is Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or something like that. On top of that, you're also going to need a certain amount of liquidity, and you're also going to need a balance sheet among the owners of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, Eric, I believe you have some repositioner sides. Everybody has some sort of, investor relations roles as a financier. But where do you see your core competencies? What are you most likely to contribute to your next deal?
I think the underwriting is pretty strong, just because I have, appraised apartments for a number of years, so I have a pretty good feel for the numbers are supposed to look like. and you can usually tell when a P&L doesn't look great.
Hmm.
Um, project management, I think would be a good fit.
Hmm.
And then finding the properties isn't too tough. It's taking time out of the day to make those phone calls to owners to see if they might be interested in selling.
Hmm.
I think someone that's a little bit more savvy on the phone would be a good compliment for me. And
Okay.
then probably raising capital. Those
Mhm.
two probably kind of go hand in hand because
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah. The financier investor relations part, right? Excellent. So the next question then it has to do with ideal properties. You were and when commercial syndicators, investors, and whatnot, when they talk about a buy box or an ideal property, they're talking about three main things. First one's geography. So which states, which counties, which neighborhoods? Okay, it could all matter. The second one has to do with the deal size. We're talking about multifamily, and the way that they talk about size in multifamily is based on unit count. There are other forms of commercial real estate like industrial that go off of square footage, but we really need to know that unit count. And then the third thing is class. And unfortunately, they use the same word for two different things. And the first definition of class, it has to do with the condition of the building. So is it old? And is it beat up? Or is it, like in reasonably good shape? And is it no frills? Or does it have a ton of amenities and luxuries and all that kind of fun stuff? That's the first definition of class. The second definition of class, it's also sometimes called area, but what they're talking about is where the property is located. What kind of crime rates do they have? What kind of school districts do they have? Okay. And both of those two are rated the same as in grade school, where it's like A plus is the best, and then like A minus, B plus, and so on. So as far as you go, Eric, a property that's easier to say yes to, more difficult to say no to, what you looking for?
I think I'm sticking with the Twin Cities since this is where I live. The only exception is I don't want to deal with Minneapolis and St. Paul right now, just because of the rent control. Until I know a little bit more about that, and just staying out of those two. And then so it's primarily the suburbs, the exception of maybe a couple of towns. And
Mm-hmm.
then ideally, I think I'd want to find at least 20 units or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're
Mm-hmm.
probably mostly going to be season Bs at this stage.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
get a little bit more experience. I'd be interested in the bigger stuff down the road.
Sweet, sweet. And you already mentioned the next section. I always mention that who you're best suited to help, and everybody has their own skill sets. Me personally, I generally look for sponsors and KPs because of my marketing and CRM background, because then I can really make a disproportionate difference. You were saying that you do all sorts of underwriting and other acquisitions, people who are handy on the phone, they'd be great for you. But is that the best person for you to help in this business?
I think it might be. You mentioned marketing, and I know a little bit about that area just from trying to run my own business with a bookkeeping service for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I'd have to know a little bit more specifically what marketing we're talking about, but for
Mm-hmm.
marketing and apartment building, I feel I guess you don't really market to owners, but aside
Yeah,
from
yeah,
financials.
yeah. You can as an acquisitions person, and that is a large part of what I personally end up doing. But like as far as the people you're really looking for, like would it be more sponsor KPs to join up with, or people who are operating buildings, or just basically, you're not allowed to entice investors though. That's well, at least if you have a 506B deal going on, you're not allowed to entice investors. So if you have a donut or something on the table, don't like wave it in front of the camera. The SEC might get mad at you. But so as far as like the people who are out there, you mentioned the callers. Is there anybody else who you think especially should reach out to you?
Um, I guess I'm not sure, but I know I would outsource the property management.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, just um, time constraints mostly
Mm-hmm.
there because I think the critical thing in good property management is customer service,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then having some kind of plan for maintenance requests, things like that.
Okay, excellent. So operators are good to reach out. So then we ended up meeting like ultimately via LinkedIn and some Zoom meetups that I find via LinkedIn. And I'm easy to find because I got the distinct last name. This QR code right here, if you pause the video and scan it, that'll send you to the FAQs page of 506 BME, which that is for streamlining the building of these partnerships and syndicator relationships. But the bigger thing is it's an offer where I can be your chief compliance officer for as little as $497 per year. But Eric, as far as you go, the best way to reach out to you, is it a social media platform or the website, or what are the best ways to reach out?
I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn and Facebook. That's probably the best option right now.
Okay, beautiful. And then the only thing left then, it's actually not for you, Eric, it's for you in the audience, which is, this is my public service announcement, which is if you are watching this episode and you are experiencing, like searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine-like symptoms, there's a good chance it's because there's a really ugly red button under my left hand right here, and you really should click it because that will mean that if enough people do it, then YouTube will actually start paying for these videos instead of me. So that's why I want you to do it. But you should know that it doesn't cost you anything, and all it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions. You can go ahead and ignore those suggestions because I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Eric, I appreciate you spending this time with me and getting to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks.
Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.